Hello, everyone. Hi. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, I'm so pleased today that we've got Kelly with us. I'm sure all of you know her work. This is the biggest response that we've had for a UK casting director for any of these talks. So thank you so much for joining. We are delighted to have Kelly Valentine Hendry here with us today. Kelly has cast some amazing British TV and film projects over several years, including the amazing Fleabag, of course, Broadchurch, The Cry, Gangs of London, The Last Kingdom episodes, and loads more. So she has a really big wealth of experience. And I was just mentioning to Kelly, usually these conversations, if you've been to them before, they're quite conversational. You know, we go on a little bit of a rambly chat, but I've had so many questions from you guys, which I'm so thankful for. And we might all be suffering from a bit of fatigue of Zoom. So I think this is quite a nice way to structure it. So I'll be asking all your questions today. So thank you for sending them in. If you do have any additional questions that we don't get to, pop them in the Q&A box and we will try. However, I can't promise anything. My name is Hannah. I'm from Backstage, and this is part of our digital slate of content that we're doing at the moment. So, hi, Kelly. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Cool. So, I'm going to just get right on into it and start. As I said, we've had so many questions. I've grouped them together so we can sort of go a little bit chronologically through your career and the casting process and things like that. Oh my God, we're getting loads of highs from everyone. Hi, everyone. So I wanted to start with you as a casting director. So how did you get into casting? Why did you
Why did I choose casting? I didn't choose casting. It kind of
chose you.
I certainly didn't choose me, but I just didn't have a job. I loved theatre, and I was at St Andrews and I was studying English, and I loved doing all the plays, and if I'm honest, it was all the musical theatre things we used to be in and direct, and I knew that's what I would really love to do, but it just wasn't a thing. I didn't know. So I came to London straight afterward, and I worked at Cosmopolitan magazine randomly.
Wow.
And I was like, this is a little bit weird, and not what I want. And I thought, no, I want to do theatre. I want to work in theatre, but I don't know what anything's called. So I didn't want to go and be taught how to be a director. So I went to LAMDA, and I did the stage management course for 2 years. I had it and learned so much, and then worked in stage management for 3 years back to back. And I realized, oh my God, I'm a stage manager, which was kind of cool, but still not exactly what I was wanting. And I didn't have a job to go to for the first time. Oh, that's my agent calling. Oops. I don't know how to make that go back to normal size. Anyway, and I thought I don't have a job. I don't know what this feels like. And I was living with an agent who's now one of the big agents at United. And she was just a junior agent. And she said, Hubbard Casting are looking for an assistant like tomorrow. And I was like, cool. I went and met Dan Hubbard for a coffee, and I was in Hubbard's the next day. And here I am, basically. So, and I never got a chance to stop and think that I was, I should be doing something else. And as it turns out, everything I loved or thought I loved about the arts, kind of as a casting director, all rolls into one. So you get a bit of directing, when your director is not there, and you are at the theatre 3-4 times we're at the theatre 3-4 times a week, which to me is the biggest treat for being a casting director that we have. And you're there right at the beginning of projects. You help with development of characters, and as the years go by, and you're doing bigger work, you get more kind of say about things. And currently, right now, with the way of the world, being in casting, if you really want to police the inclusivity, etc., then it's a great place to be, because we can shut stuff down or cut the head off as quickly as possible. So that's that. I fell into it.
Yeah. And did you just work with Dan Hubbard, or did you sort of float around?
No,
casting director?
You know what? I made a decision. I didn't want to float about. And the Hubbards were they taught me everything I know today. And they're still huge, obviously, but they were like together as a collective entity at the time, and it was this crazy experience where casting was different then. It was much more sort of fabulous. You know, it was, you'd find yourself at the Groucho every night, and like Roz would be on the piano singing. You know, it was fabulous, and there were so many premieres and parties, and now it's not like that, thank God. And it was a real fun time. So I was there for a good 3.5 years, and someone from Scotland, hello. And I went to, but I needed a change after a while, so I went and worked with Gail Stevens, who again was absolutely incredible to work for and taught me a whole bunch of other stuff. And we did Slumdog, etc. So we had some really good projects there. And then it just got to the point where, you know, it was time for me to start my own thing. And with her blessing, I did that for a little while, and then joined for. You know, the truth is, I was kind of bored on my own, and I am very, very good friends with Victor Jenkins. He's literally like my brother. He's been at every single massive life event of mine and my family's, you know, all the weddings, all the engagements, everything. Yeah. And I said, Victor, come on, let's have a company together. We can clean up. Nice. And we got Broadchurch. And that was kind of what started. I'm always forever grateful to Jane Featherston for giving us that opportunity. Yeah. Because we were just young, you know, it's not that we were young, we were relatively inexperienced. So Victor and I, we had a company for a good few years, and then again it felt like we needed a change. You know, he was doing his project, I was doing mine under the same banner, and we thought, you know what, let's just do it separately now. That's the new chapter for us both. And yeah, we're really lucky. So
well, I think that you've worked very, very hard, and obviously have a very good eye for everything. So luck comes into it sometimes, but I mean, obviously there has to be more than that there, for sure.
Oh, we work hard. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So on the topic of Broadchurch then, Tommy Edson has asked, how long do you have to cast a production like Broadchurch or something like Fleabag, where it is episodic and it's quite a long series?
Broadchurch and Fleabag are like two completely different ways of working as well, in a way. So if you're doing a drama, what was Broadchurch? Was it 8 hours? I think it was, 8 hours. So what you would do, if your show is starting in, say, in March, you might get brought on you might even get brought on like October, November. And you start before pre-production, really. It depends on what kind of casting it is. So, I mean, I'm on with Wheel of Time and Bridgerton and things like that. I mean, I was on them for a year, and I'm still on Wheel of Time, if I'm honest. You know, it's years. So you usually start 4 months out, something like that. Sometimes even 5, and sometimes production companies come to, like, I'm having a call tomorrow with someone. I'm not sure if I'll be doing the project. I hope I will be. But we're talking about it now, and it probably doesn't even have dates yet. So we do start very far out. Fleabag was different because, as you all know, Fleabag was a play. So we took it from seeing it in the theatre. Remember so clearly, just being Phoebe's one-woman show upstairs at Soho, and then taking it to, you know, a read-through, and then to the pub for a read-through to get commissioned to do a pilot, and obviously, and then into season 1. And of course, Olivia Scott-Webb took over and did season 2. But that process was obviously quite long, but that could have lasted for years if it wasn't so, frankly, brilliant. So that was quite quick, and then that went on quite quickly. So months and months. And what's happened, which I think is quite interesting. So I did a lot more feature film when I was with. Can you hear background noise, by the way? Is it okay?
I can hear like a little something going on.
My friend is here. He's downstairs. And he's got a funny laugh. Anyway, I might have to tell him to be quiet.
I quite like it.
Like being in a casting. I'm like, oh God. So feature film casting was always a bit more, unless you were doing a studio movie, which was already, you know, it was greenlit, and they didn't really mind. You weren't expected to attach a name for finance, and so doing independent movies was always really difficult, because it would take sometimes 3, 4, 5 years. You're still working, you get your lead, it would fall apart. But I'm telling you, it was always, there's the start date, there's the end date, we're going. And now that's changed a little bit. So quite often we're working on projects where you're attaching an actor, as you would have done in feature film world, to TV projects to then get the network to, you know, pick you up. So you're thinking now is like, you know, the conversations with producers are like, so who are you thinking? Where do you think this sits? Is it Amazon? Is it Netflix? Is it BBC? Is it ITV? And each of those networks have a very different feel in terms of casting. So to round it all back to Broadchurch again, that was because I worked a lot for ITV at that point. From then on, there was a way of casting that ITV, you know, it's a certain, they like having it's like you go for people that a lot of people would recognize. And they always do the heart, and that's what Chris Chibnall all the way through Broadchurch always reminds us. It was like, you remember the old ITV logo was a heart, and like, think of the people that were casting for Broadchurch, like the heart of the nation, like people will love, and hence the Pauline Quirks and like the, you know, that type of thing. So
do you think that changes come in TV production and casting from your side since video on demand has become more of a thing, or was it before that point?
I think it was probably that. I mean, I think it was when they realized that stars were coming to do, like film stars were coming to sign on to television. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we used to joke at the CDG that we would get t-shirts made on the back saying, no, Michael Fassbender will not do your TV show, or Tom Hardy will not, you know, and like make coasters and leave them around, the, you know, subliminal messages. And then I think I blame Maggie Gyllenhaal for coming over and doing Honourable Women, and then everyone was like, ooh. There's that, you know, and then it just kind of started happening. And now the lists I do for television shows look like, well, not like more like low budget TV movie. Actually, not even that. You know, some of the stars we have in television is it's nuts. And you sit at the read throughs and you're like, so it's wonderful, but it's exciting.
Amazing. So one more question on your job as a casting director, and this one's from Georgina Aindo, and she's asked, we've spoken a bit there about how you came into casting, but in your eyes and from your experience, and especially with working with assistants, what sort of qualities do you think you need to start out in casting and become a casting director?
Okay, so lots of stage managers are casting directors, weirdly. I don't know what that says about us, but you have to realize from this, when you come into it, that I'm going to put it maybe more nicely than it was put to me, but you don't get an opinion. Do you see what I mean? So you have to realize that it's a funny old world with us, and I'm a good person. I think I'm quite nice, and I always, when someone suggests, even my peers, like if they suggest something, you bristle slightly, you know. And I'm very collaborative, so you have to know that it'll take a little bit of time before you are cast, you know, that you're putting down your ideas. Having said that, it doesn't take very long before you're being taken to the theatre by the agents, and you do feed that back. But it's about, if you're the type of person that can see a train wreck hurtling towards you, and you can think of every single potential problem and stop it, that's what we do as casting directors.
I've never said like put like that before, but
it's because we have to think of, when you're putting together, even if it's just ideas lists, or when you're doing your deals and you have to make sure, and it is our job to make sure that this happens, that your money is fair, that again, you're being inclusive, that you've got to make sure that by accident somehow, you know, a diverse female is being paid weekly less than the male leads, or if by the time you break it down, you just got to, so you're looking, because that's the problem. The actors get in the chair, and then all of a sudden one of them's been paid £50 less than the other part, and you're like, you have got to nip all of that in the bud at point, and it takes a long time for you to be good at that, and it's a lot of paperwork, and you've got to be so precise all the time. And I can't spell with my St Andrews honours masters, and it's a problem, I think, a little bit, but so I don't have, but I'm quite good at seeing spelling mistakes, and seeing, and I know that sounds silly, but that's the reason eventually that I will not get hired. My office would not get hired for just basic little mistakes like that. So you have to be really quite good at superbly organized, someone that can think like I'm hiring someone. I want someone to think like I think. So I've got the most incredible team, and they quite often will have done something before I've told them to do it. So they definitely now think the way I do. And I'd give quite simple. So you've got to be basically a rule follower. And then in it, you understand that if you follow certain rules, you will never get into trouble. And under that, you start becoming creative.
Yeah.
And the obvious thing is the love of actors and the love of film and theatre will get you so far, because you can have the worst day and you can sit in the dark at night and it all just gets blown away by, you know, your nice night at the theatre with the agents, and you come out and you're going home at night and you think, wow, I'm so lucky that this is my job. By the fourth night that week, you're like, I can't watch another Midsummer Night's Dream. I just can't do it.
So how many people do you have working with you at any given time? Does it change project to project?
Yeah, I'm quite solid. So I have Alex Irwin, who is, she's also a casting director with us now. So she kind of leads Last Kingdom and Grantchester.
Great.
And she's been with me for years and years. She was in production beforehand, so had a really good knowledge of like that side of things when she started, and she'd never been in casting, she just fancied it. So she's permanently employed. And then I have Lily Hanbury, who's my assistant, and starting to get associate credits on things. And she'd moved about a little bit before, but she's been with me for quite a long time. And again, she's permanent staff. And then I have Cole Edwards, who is, he's more freelance for me, only because that he was someone who joined us like less than a year, probably about a year ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our team.
Nice.
I like keeping it like that, and then depending on how everything goes, I will bring in other people eventually, or work experience. I do work experience every summer, paid work experience.
Great. So if anybody was interested in starting out in casting, could they get in touch with you, or is there a better resource? Like the CDG website has a vacancies page, doesn't it?
I think so. I haven't been on there, I don't think, for 20 years to have a look for a job. So I would hate to say there is, but I'm pretty sure there is. Gina J and Shaheen Baig have set up an actual course with the film school, and I think there's a lot of scholarships available there.
Yeah.
Casting is embarrassingly white, and it is changed. I'm no longer part of the inclusion committee for the CDG, only because I just got so busy. I kept on letting them down, not being able to make meetings. But there's a group of people who are working on behalf of everybody to make sure that within the casting community, not just the acting community, that casting directors are going to start making sure that their offices reflect society, not just everybody and their godchildren, frankly. So I need to look at this also. I have a very diverse in terms of background, social background, I'd say, but I don't have any diversity within my office. And that means that, yes, I try to see through the lens of other people, but that's impossible for us to even for a second understand someone else's lived experience. So that is going to be changing soon. When we go have read-throughs, yes, round the table's getting a little bit better, but behind the table, it's very white.
Yeah.
So
that course that you mentioned, just if anybody was wondering, is for the National Film and Television School, NFTS. However, I do have a feeling that the applications close on the 25th of June, if I'm remembering rightly, but have a little look, because I know that they're going to be looking for a new intake of students. Obviously, I think it's a short course, so hopefully coming up. So
there's that, or you can just write to casting directors and say, I'm really passionate to get into it, and you never know. My work experience girl that I had last year, and she was here all summer, I bumped into her in a pub in St Andrews when I was back visiting, and she was at St Andrews at the time doing a media course, and we got chatting. She was like, I'd love to do work experience. She was American. She was like, I would love to do work experience. I went, keep in touch, and she did. And every so often she'd just send a reminder, and she arrived and she stayed for that summer. And
Nice.
she was incredible. She was everyone, she was incredible. She wasn't even work experience. She was proper staff by the end of it, but we were sad to lose her. So yeah, just write to casting directors.
Great. And loads of resources on that on the Casting Directors Guild website. And there is, I just double checked, there is a vacancies page. Although I'm pretty sure, actually, things are starting up again now. It's worth taking a look, but there's also a directory on there. So if you are wondering who casts what or looking for contact details, they might be on there. Casting Directors.
I would say that right now might be a very difficult time to get responses back for taking on extra pair of hands, because we're all working out right now. Oh, you might get a visit from my cat in a minute, so apologies. Yes, it's we're finding, I've got staff on furlough, you know, we're working out how on earth to make our, oh, here she, bye-bye. Oh. That's my cat. She'll be back. Yeah, so maybe if you don't get a response for people, just, and I certainly do file all of them, and then when I go, do you know what, I need an assistant, then we will go into the files. Yeah. So if you don't hear back, don't be disheartened by that. So
okay, perfect. Right, so let's head into the casting search. So how you find your actors and just some tips around that. So Annette Brausch, I think I'm saying that right, has asked, she was just wondering how big a part agencies play in the initial stages of casting. Does the size or reputation of the agency matter in how seriously you may take a suggestion if you don't already know the actor?
Right, let's deal with the latter part of that question first. Now, people might give you different opinions. I do not care where someone comes from, agency-wise. There are obviously the big ones, and they tend to have some of the bigger clients. However, they're quite often the people who don't find the talent in the first place. I'm not saying they don't, they're all incredible. We love the big agents, but it is not for me to decide who has sourced or found, you know, an amazing actor. And a lot of the young and up and coming agencies are out there, and they're scouring the drama schools outside of London, youth groups, you name it. So that's where you'll find the surprises. So will you have a better shot with your career with a bigger agent? There's no denying that that would be true. But loads of actors are still with their smaller agencies and never left. So it's just whether it works for you. If you are getting the meetings, then you do not need a better agent unless you feel that those meetings are not right for you. Yeah. Agents need you to work, or there's no point them looking after you, you know, representing you. So they're not just sitting there ignoring you. I promise you, your agent is pushing you. The problem is that if you have a bad agent and is just getting it wrong, and that's for you to work out. So when we start a casting process, we always start obviously with the leads, and or sometimes they come attached. So, but we start with the number 1, 2, 3, 4 on the cast list. Now, part of the meeting process, or I mean, sometimes I get offered the job, sometimes we have to meet. So if you've just got the job and you're working with people that you have not worked with before, part of the process is them kind of sounding you out. So you do lists, my ideas, which is not often, the agents don't really have anything to do with that, but they might have predominantly they will get in touch because someone will look after the writer or the director in the kind of the other side of the talent pool, you know, the way they look after that behind the camera talent. And so they'll know the project, and they'll pick up the phone and say, look, I know you've got this project. How about if it's one of their big ones as well that they think we think this is a great fit for? So yeah, we do our lists, and then what tends to happen is that there might be someone that just is like, well, that they have to be offered that's a no-brainer. We're going for that person, and then you would just go straight to the agent and offer it.
Yeah.
Maybe they might turn it down. You might get through a couple of offers like that. That's when you revert to maybe like what we call briefing it out on Spotlight. Thank God for Spotlight. And then that's when we might start talking to the agents. It's different project by project, but that's the basics.
Okay, great. That's great. Lisa Lynn has asked, with hair and tattoos, are you best to keep yourself as plain as as possible, or is that like very old school?
Here's mine. Tattoos are a little bit annoying, but it's certainly not going to be a reason for you not, you won't not get the job unless it's got to the point that we're covering up so many tattoos and we've run out of money. Your hair, you have your hair how you have your hair, like it's not a problem. We don't ever have problems with girls in their hair. If we know that there's going to be a drastic hair change for a girl, then that's probably what we would put on the breakdown. So we wouldn't bring anyone in who didn't want to cut their hair. If we were absolutely had to have someone with short hair, or it was part of the storyline, we would make sure that is mentioned at the beginning. Where we have all our problem, and I cannot tell you the amount of Sundays that have been ruined by this, and guys and haircuts and buzz cuts and period pieces, because a lot of people are doing multiple projects all at once. The minute we have someone I'm doing a period piece, like say for example it's Grantchester we're in the 50s now, their hair is a certain way, we can't make it work with the Last Kingdom, no way, like it's not happening, and we're not wigging people. So boys and haircuts is a difficult one. But I would say a bit of advice for actors in general: do not change your appearance from your audition. Just in case you've got the job. It happens a lot. We take months sometimes to decide who we're going to cast based for various reasons, and then we'll go for the person that they've cut all their hair off. Oh my goodness, they like their hair. So just be really careful. Just get your agent to check in and say that they really want a haircut. Would it be beards as well, facial hair, everything? Just have it. If you're in the mix, just double check. But men and their hair, and their beards, it drives me mad.
If in doubt, just check.
Yes, just check.
So we're talking about agents, and we do have quite a few questions from people who are not represented at the minute. So I'll summarize. If somebody's not represented and they wanted to put themselves forward for a role that was maybe made public either on social media or on Backstage or Mandy or somewhere else, or they wanted to email you directly, is there a best way for your system in how they can do that?
No, just make a very clear message on the subject, line of what you're applying for. And just be simple as possible and not be clever. Loads of people, actually it is quite clever if I'm being honest, because I do open them. People will sometimes address it in a manner that it makes it look like I might be getting a job off, like someone's checking my availability, and I'm like, ooh. But yeah, just very simple. Be very, like, say for example it's The Last Kingdom, which we've just had picked up, which is great.
Yes.
You would say Last Kingdom, what you say, maybe application sounds a bit odd. You don't need to think about it too much. It would just make sure that you say you're Scandinavian, you go Scandinavian, 6'5", Scandinavian actor, RE, The Last Kingdom. I'm going to be definitely opening that because I'm running out of big strapping Vikings. So yeah, just be clear in the subject matter and then keep it really short and plain and simple, and you don't have to give me some tale or story. It's quite nice if you really like, a lot of people have got in touch post Gangs of London and have said, I am a huge fan of Gareth Evans. I love the way they've noticed certain things about the show. And I do read it, to be fair, and I'll be like, that person really loves this, and we want to work with people who really love things.
Yeah.
Also, if you're doing a project, so when I start up, and I'm not starting it up yet, so please don't write in yet, but when we start doing Tattooist, and we will be casting Jewish actors for Jewish roles, and that goes without saying for most projects nowadays. So if you know that if there's something we're casting and you are specific to that, please do put that in the subject matter. You should be proactive on that. The blanket kind of I would be right for is where you're gonna kind of fall through the gaps.
Yeah, great tips. Do you post anything out on your social media? I'm just, because I know you're on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, just so people can keep an eye, maybe if there's anything on there?
Now you're embarrassing me. I have no idea. At KV Hendry. Let me have a look. I do run it myself. It's not like I have my Twitter handle
It is.
Is
At
it?
KV Hendry, yes.
Yes, obviously, I actually just post quite a lot about how awesome Scotland's being right now and how much I love Schitt's Creek and what we do in the shadows. So nothing about
It's
casting.
great
Yeah,
content anyway.
yeah,
But I think Twitter's a great resource anyway for actors
yes.
outside of casting platforms, because there's so much that gets posted out there. So have a little look at Kelly.
Yeah, I will be sending out an open search in the next couple of days. We are doing a film where the lead male and female are deaf, or whichever. We're not stating exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for. We'll change the story to suit the right actor, but they have to be deaf.
Yeah.
So whether they're use hearing aids or whether they are sign or whatever, and it's going to be very clear, and it's going to be a signed tweet as well. You know, it's going to be. We're learning a lot about this. We want to get it right. It's a huge opportunity for someone. We have to cast the lead boy at 9, and then he has to play 19 and 28. So we use the same actor for the second lot. It is such a beautiful film. I feel like when I read it, when I first read Slumdog, like I know this film is going to be like it, and it's about identity and a journey based on someone that the writers know of being brought into a hearing household when you're deaf and not being part of the deaf community and not being part of the hearing world.
Yeah.
And if I have used terms there that offend people or I've got it wrong, then please email me and let me know. The girl is also and we don't have a young girl. The female role is in the latter part, so she'd be 19 through 28 as well, and we'll be a bit flexible with that. So watch out for my Twitter. It's the same people who made Gangs of London is their film division.
Oh, great. Okay.
This is an exclusive that I haven't.
Oh,
this
amazing.
no one knows about this yet. So we will, like we did with Slumdog, we will only make the film if we find the talent. Yeah. And then we will, so I don't know when we'd shoot. We will cast and cast and cast until that is done properly. So
amazing. Do you know what? We've had quite a couple of, we had a couple of questions which are based on the topic of disabled actors. So I'm going to just skip right on ahead and then we'll come back to the search. So Sophie Weaver has asked, have you cast many disabled actors in the past? And do you think there is a need for more bold casting? For example, casting disabled actors in non-actor roles?
What do you mean non-actor roles, non-disabled roles?
Sorry, non-disabled roles. Yeah, non-disabled roles.
Yeah. I have cast disabled actors, but not nearly enough. And I am very, very sorry on behalf of our productions. We try. I promise you, we try. I don't mean try to as in we bring people in and no one's right. I mean, it's just a conversation that is not getting through to execs, producers, execs, directors. So I'm just going to I'm very honest, as you all probably know. And I need, my dad said the other day, I need to watch it. But I just feel that we sit and talk about it all the time. And we sit in our initial conversations about projects and we go, and I'll say, we must have one of these roles must be suitable for a disabled actor in terms of access, depending on what it is. When we went to a talk recently, I thought it was a really good comment. It was like, and somebody said, I'm only disabled when you make me disabled. They were in a wheelchair. So I was like, oh God, that's such a good point. You know, it's, if you can't get into the Spotlight, I'm sure are working on it. But sets do need to be able to, and if the producers and everyone are wrecking and you know you're going to have a lead that has a disability, they can deal with that then. But it's not happening. I think on Law and Order it was great. I think we always used to cast a bunch of judges, and one of our judges was a wheelchair user, and that was fine. But it just so happened that court that we used to shoot in always had disabled access. So Law and Order was really easy. But I just feel like I said, we sit there, we talk about it, and everyone's like, yes, definitely we'll be doing that. And then you keep on putting people in front of the people who make the decisions, and it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And we will keep on doing everything we can to ensure that happens. I think a lot of people as well make sweeping judgments and decisions on behalf of disabled people, in terms of if there's a role, and say that there's negative connotations to that role, and that is the only role that you've got in maybe that kind of episode that is being played by a disabled person, then they'd go, well, we can't have that role being played by the disabled person, that will look bad. I'm like, you know what, I think maybe you should ask them about that. It was the same conversation was happening when they were like, well, we can't make that thief or criminal in this episode black. I'm like, why not? And like, well, back in the day, it would be you would police that, because it would be bad if that was the only diverse character was the baddie. But now with diversity, like, and say like Gangs of London, perfect example, like it didn't matter who was, like this casting, this idea of bad and good based on skin color. I was just like, oh my god, we're just conforming to society's trope anyway. So let's stop making decisions on behalf of other people. So all of us in our office keep on at it, and we're trying. It does. There are situations though. Do you know what? It's not. No, listen to me. I'm making excuses already. So we will keep on trying. Did I answer your question? I hope so.
You definitely did, and I think that's really, really helpful for everyone to hear. And I know that Equity have a really strong division for deaf and disabled. So if you are an actor in the UK and you want some advice, or you're looking for some information, then I would definitely go and check them out, because they might be useful to you. Join your union anyway, I think. So let's go back to casting. Let's talk about tapes. We had quite a few questions about the future of casting and self-taping. So Roman Fiore has asked, how do you think the future of auditions will continue? Do you think it would be through self-tapes? And do you think you'll be doing any in-person castings anytime soon?
I don't know. I changed my mind about this. I'm just going to plug my computer in.
Go for it.
Look, I do a lot of self-tapes because I'm very lucky and I get to work on quite international shows. So I like to have people coming from all over the place. I can't talk about that. Watch myself. We have people flying in from all over the place, and you know what? It's what London looks like. It's what the world should look like, etc. So there has to be a self-tape. I think self-tape is opportunity, personally, and I don't think I think everybody just needs to jump on board. Everyone's like, oh, but it's so great to be in the room with the director, and this. I was like, honestly, there's amazing directors out there. Of course there are. Quite often you come into and I'm sure there's lots of actors watching just now who be like, I didn't even get a word from my director. So everyone just needs to jump on board the self-tape train, because it's not going anywhere, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Just perfect that self-tape. At the same time, don't think about it too much, but that's how you're going to get jobs. We will be back in the room with actors. My feeling is that I think I won't necessarily be in the room if I'm doing, say, 30 people in a day and it's a whole bunch of new talent. That is something that Alex, Lily or Cole will be doing. I will watch all the tapes and I'll shortlist. I don't know if I'm going to put them in a room like that for a little while longer. All of the associates and assistants, when you're on a big project and you're in that really big chunky meaty part when you're doing all the one-liners, three-liners, they always get sick because they're interacting with so many people all day, every day. So no, I'm not having them do that. So we'll be self-taping, I think, for a long time. And then if we're down to recalls, like some really specific recalls, we will be back in the room, I would think.
Okay, great. So no plans in the very near future to be back in the room? Like, you don't have anything booked in at all with any projects you're doing at the minute?
I am casting now. It's all self-tapes, yeah. So we're all over the place as well. We're a bit of a mess at the moment everywhere. The projects we are going, but we're just fingers crossed that we don't all get shut down in little pockets.
Yeah.
So it's the conversations you're all having with each other. I sit and I look outside and I see kids, a group of kids all like partying. I'm like, that's more people that we need on our low budget movies, so yeah. I think everybody just needs to be super careful right now. So I don't know, honestly, I don't know the answer.
We'll see what happens. I know that you just said with the self-tape, you know, don't think about it too much when you're doing it. But do you have anything that you do like to see in the tape? Yeah, without like describing the whole thing, you know, is there anything in particular that you think makes a good self-tape?
Yeah, so bearing in mind I'm getting thousands, sometimes when I get tape in and it's really badly done, I just think, you know what, it's not worth, I don't want that going up, because even though they know it's self-taping, it's still me that's presenting it. So when you've got a ton of self-tapes that are really professionally done, it looks like I've been in studio anyway. You know, they're less likely to be like, you need to be in the room. So I personally like, and listen, we talk about this all the time, not a white background ever. It's bad and doesn't make you look as good. You want a blue, you want a grey, like a spotlight. Even the colour of my walls in here is fine. Yeah. You want to light yourself well, not like me today, this is awful. You want to, and make sure that your sound is really good. Have your reader stand a little bit away from the camera, because you want to just hear them and no more want to hear you. You don't want, because sometimes readers are terrible as well, and it genuinely does distract. It doesn't distract me. I know if I'm well, it's distracting other people, but it will distract. Quite often, the producers and directors will watch with headphones on, and they all have really good headphones, their cans or whatever. They pick up all the extra noise. So just like, I know that there's work being done in the house next door just now, that would be picked up on a tape recording, and that will annoy them, and it takes not very much for things to annoy people. Yeah. And you're always looking, I always say about casting is that we're always looking for a reason not to cast you sometimes rather than to cast you. It's the same with bringing people in and choosing who's going to be invited to tape. That's another thing with self-tape. We invite a lot more people with the self-tape, because I'm like, why not? Like, go for it. It was no skin off mine. It was what, a minute and a half of my time watching it. Please do. You know, so people who don't have agents should be like, self-taping is exactly what I need. Because if you get in touch in the correct manner, I just mean politely at the right time, and you can get a self-tape from a casting director, you're off. Like, you don't, who cares? You know, you're good.
Yeah.
So
great. So if they've impressed with their self-tape, and now in some sort of universe in the future, we're in the casting room, Emily Ramsey has asked, so when you give an actor a callback, are you wanting to see them do something different, or with the same idea and motivation behind their performance? Yeah,
good question. So on a callback, they liked what they saw, or I liked what I saw. So it's absolutely, your callback is about, especially if the director is there, the director will want to see if he can direct you. They've already liked what you've done. Great, stick to that. I'd even suggest come in wearing be exactly the same.
Yeah.
And this is such an important bit of advice, which is going to sound so obvious, but it is single-handedly one of the reasons that people don't get the job. Is that you can do, this happens all the time, a blinding audition. And the director's like, yeah, I love it, it's great. Then he asks you to do it again, and he'll give you a couple of little notes. If you do not do those notes so many times after the person leaves, he's like, you know what, I love them, and I love their first take, but they don't take direction. And I was like, oh, come on. It's like, this is like such an abnormal thing. He's like, but the second person did.
Yeah.
So just listen. I mean, we all do it. You know, I do it in interviews as well. You know, you're nodding along when you go, but you're not really listening. You know what I mean? Because you're thinking about what you're about to do next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Strong decisions. Just make sure you change it as asked. Even if it's, I don't know, just listen and make sure that you do that, and make sure you get good at it. A lot of the people who come in who are on stage at the time of us casting for whatever we're doing don't also realize that, and it's not their fault, and we definitely smooth this out on their behalf, is that you can tell that they don't know they're still in character for their whatever they're doing on stage, and that's really odd to watch.
Yeah.
Jodie Whittaker auditioned for her Broadchurch role in the accent that she was using down at the National, and she came up in between shows and she was like, "Do you mind if I just do it in the accent that I'm doing my play in?" Because she said, "I can't do Beth. I can't do that accent right now. I'm going to do it in my broad Northern that I'm doing right now." I know she's Northern anyway, but and she just did it as that, and so not to get herself confused, which was 100% the correct thing to do. And I can't. If you guys could see her audition, it is probably one of the best auditions I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
To this day. So.
That was actually one of the questions that we had from somebody was, what's been your most memorable casting moment or triumph? Would that be it?
I don't know. It's weird little ones here and there that you get good at. Maybe I can say this. So in Wheel of Time, which I'm not allowed to talk about casting, but I will say this, is I was in the casting room with Rafe and the other producers and execs, and when we knew we'd got our leads, and they were from, like I said, we'd flown them in from all over the world, and we were like looking at each other, and I'll never forget that moment, because all of a sudden, like if it is a huge success, as I hope it should be, it's going to change their lives. And we're looking at these kids basically who just don't know, and they of course didn't know the story because they weren't given anything. And I was like, you've no idea what's coming, like what the cool stuff that is coming your way. So I really love that, when you know that you're absolutely changing someone's life like that. So, and that happens all the time. There's so many examples. I can't begin. I'm like, I can't.
I would love to see that Jodie Whittaker tape, though. I love her character in Broadchurch anyway. But she's so amazing. So moving on a little bit to we've got a couple of age specific questions actually, which I was wondering if you had any tips around. So Patricia Tyndall asked, she's now returning to acting. She actually did a workshop with you she did a showcase with you at the Actors Centre many years ago, apparently.
Wow, yeah.
Shot Be Seen, I think it was called.
Shot to Be Seen, yeah.
Shot to Be Seen, yeah, there we go. And she said, she is now coming back to acting, and she's older, she's in her 50s, and she was wondering if you had any advice on people who are returning to acting later on in life, or they're starting later on in life, if there's any other things that might make them more accessible to what's going on, or is it the same as you're just starting out?
Exactly the same, because there's always roles, maybe not some, maybe there are actually, there's loads of roles for people in that age, and there's less actors. Yes. Actually, because people are dropping off all the time, whether that's to do with personal reasons or they've just had enough, face it. I always swore if I am lucky to hit my 70s, 80s, I'm becoming an actress.
Yeah.
If I'm okay, I'm going to tell you. Amazing. You listen, I just think you have to be, it's the same advice that applies to anybody. It's like, if you are good and sure about who you are, and you're happy in yourself, and that is all something you can work on, that's got nothing to do with your actual acting, you are miles ahead of a ton of people, and you will get on so much better. If you're not okay, like your mental health in check, you're healthy, and you're ready for criticism, and you're ready for failure, and you're ready for all the good stuff at the same time, and don't take anything for granted, which goes without saying, then you'll be fine. You just have to be honest about it. And I'd say good luck. Like, amazing, another older person coming back to the business. Let's see, hopefully you'll be plenty of roles for you to apply for. So
amazing. There you go.
Good for you.
Thank you very much for that question. So Backstage has a very large US audience as well. And we've had a ton of questions, mostly from actors wondering if they can be involved in your projects. But just to summarize, I guess, if you are an actor, and we've spoken about international casting as well, if you are an actor from somewhere outside of the UK, but you want to get involved in something that you've heard is casting in the UK, Is that a possibility? Is there limitations to that? And yeah, do you have any advice around that?
Yeah, okay, very simple. Right. We are usually equity registered projects. Occasionally we will be, if you're shooting here, if you're shooting in Europe, then we're going to be equity. And we will only be allowed a couple of SAG actors. So I'm talking about Americans here, okay? We can waiver it, and we just have to put a contribution to pensions, etc. But there is a difference. SAG has different elements to the contract. You know what the production have to, like, turnaround times and pickups and all this stuff. It's different to equity, so you end up in a situation where some actors might be getting treated differently to others. Obviously unacceptable. So we tend to have, one of the questions that I will have with producers from the start is, how many SAG actors, if any, are we able to have on this show? So for that reason, it's a real shame loads of American actors get in touch all the time going, can I be in this, can I be in this? And I just simply, I don't have the authority to turn around and say we're not casting SAG actors, but that's kind of why that's not happening. When you're in Europe, as long as you have a visa to travel, and quite often, obviously, production will sort that for you. If we're cast, I will be very aware of turnaround times for different countries. And obviously there's air bridges, not air bridges, but it's easier to shoot in some, travel to one country if you're from another, than, so we're always very aware of that. And we don't really, as long as, if we can afford it and we want to pay the flights, because we're not going to put you on an economy flight, it will have to be nice because we don't want you tired or, so it all comes down to money at the end of the day. So like I said, we've been bringing in international actors for years now, and I don't know what COVID is going to do to that, which I don't know what Brexit is going to do to that. So if you're not British and you think it's a British show, don't worry about that. And also, while we're here, if you speak good English, clear English, I don't care if you've got an accent. I'd rather hear the accent than you trying to pretend to be English. Don't even bother unless it's so perfect that I would never know anyway. Remember that what makes you unique is probably what will get you the job.
That's a great bit of advice, and there was quite a few questions about that as well, so you beat me to it. That's great. That's all really, really helpful advice, and I think it's good to have aspirations to if you are based in the US, and I know loads of UK actor friends who want to work in the US as well, but there are visa implications, so you do have to know your stuff, and it's not a case of, oh, they won't look at me because I'm outside. There's rules and regulations around those things, so it's not always possible. So what are you working on at the moment then? Because you've Last Kingdom has just been commissioned for the fifth series?
Yes, 5th series.
Amazing. So is that casted now, or are you?
I haven't started, but I've got an idea of what's coming. Cool. So yeah, plenty to do there. Right, I've got to be careful because I'm allowed to say things and not say things about certain things. So right now we're waiting. Grantchester will be starting very soon, which is always great. We're always looking for, this is a perfect example. Grantchester. A Grantchester accent is so different. Cambridge accent, it's just a little thing there. So if you're from Cambridge, if you're a local to Cambridge, I want to know about you, desperately. I want to know, especially if you live up there, because then that's great for when we location shoot. We shoot Grantchester down outside London in studio. And then do our exteriors up there where the church is. Someone saying Oxford local? Not Cambridge, is it? No.
Cambridge.
I'm someone from Edinburgh. No, I'm talking about, this is the hardest thing, because you open up this can of worms and everyone's like, oh yeah. No, I want genuine Cambridge accents from people who live by Cambridge, please. But look, here we go, specific. But look, I'm coming to Scotland for something else soon, so we'll be good. We'll be looking for you there. So what was I talking about before I digressed?
So Grantchester.
Grantchester is going very soon. I haven't got the script yet, so I don't know but that's brilliant. It's episodic. There's always loads of new characters every story of the week. Gangs of London's announced. So Gangs of London will be going next year. So I will start casting for Gangs very shortly. I'm now just currently dealing with the existing cast. I haven't seen storylines. I have no idea what's coming, but let's assume that it will be a lot of death and a lot of fighting. If you're wanting to be in Gangs of London, here's the thing. The style of fighting is so different to what anyone else has ever taught. So there's no point really going, hey, I'm a massive boxer, or I'm this, or I'm good at fighting. We actually, if that's the case, we have to have you assessed to see if we can strip you of it to reach, like, it's very specific. So I'm not saying don't do it, but just, you know, just be aware that that's what we do on Gangs of London. It's not for everyone. It's for like just some of the big, like, get into those huge, big scenes. If you've watched it, you know what I'm talking about. That was rehearsed for months. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so Gangs is up and running. Cobra's back. I'm not sure if it's announced. I think, is it been announced?
It is now.
Shit. I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm not sure if I meant to say that. But anyway, sorry.
We can cut it out.
Sorry. Well, that's coming, but it's brilliant. I've read some scripts of that, and that's fantastic. I think that is a secret, so that's great. Well done, Kel.
Everyone, don't tell anyone after this.
And then I've got some of the bigger ones. I can't say they're coming back or not coming back. Then I've got a ton of little independent feature films, which are set all over the place, quite a lot in Scotland. I'm missing something. I'm doing Citadel for Amazon. That's gone down. Oh, we can talk about things that have gone down. So Citadel that I'm casting, that's Richard Madden and Priyanka Chopra. That's the Russo brothers who do all the Avengers stuff. Yeah, so that is on hold at the moment, and it'll be coming. But I'm waiting to hear when we're starting on that. I was like, no. I'm missing something, but look, there's lots of stuff going on.
And is there anything that you've got which is going to be coming on our screens anytime soon?
Yeah, so tune into Brave New World. That's going to be on Peacock in America.
That's shot in Wales, right?
Yeah, and it'll be on Sky. I don't think we've got the date for Sky. I think it's July for Peacock. I think it's super cool. Check that out. Some really good actors in that. And it's based on the book. It's not exactly the book, because let's face it, Brave New World is mega racist. So they've changed that, obviously. I'm really proud of that. So that's coming soon.
Amazing.
Bridgerton will be out at some point.
Epic. Brave New World, you know, earlier you were talking about girls' haircuts. I'm pretty sure that was a friend of mine cast the background, and they had to ask the girls to have their hair either cut really, really short or shaved. Is that right?
Yeah, so Brave New World was a really, really it was actually quite difficult casting experience, because it's making a point about something that we're saying is wrong, right? So the fact is, if people who've read the book, like, you have alpha, betas, deltas, you know, and on. So alphas are like the beautiful, they're in charge, etc. Yeah. So we're having to decide who that is. So we're asking actors to come in. You're saying you're coming in for a beta. So an actor's going, oh, so you don't think what is it about me that you don't think is that? Or if you're asking to be coming in for like as far you get down. So in Brave New World, they have things called epsilons, they're not robots, they're real, but you are the workers. And the great thing about them is that they're farmed to be workers, and all they want to do is serve. So they decided on the look for them was something quite, short-haired, and they were trying to get people looking all quite similar, and I think that's probably the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like, oh God, today we're having to do like I can't remember what they were called. No, they're not called gammas, or maybe they were called gammas. I'm like, oh God, I have to cast gammas. I have to pick some people that I think are not alphas or betas or deltas, and I was so embarrassed. And when that would come in, I'd be like, guys, I am so sorry. It's just that it's okay, it's fine, don't worry.
Oh my gosh, God.
Oh, I hated it. In a good way. I love casting it, but I was just like,
It looks great though. I really can't wait. When did you say that was coming out?
Coming out in July in Peacock in America. you can see the trailers and stuff there. And it's and it will be soon. It will follow shortly on Sky, so it's good.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, really
great. So definitely check that out. I know that you were talking about Schitt's Creek earlier, but I wanted to just ask you, because mainly I'm running out of stuff to watch, but also it'd be good to know what you're watching. What are you watching?
Well, I won't say what it is, but I've been on a judging panel, so I've been watching a lot of international shows. So Delhi Crime, I don't know if you can, it's Netflix, and it is sensational. If you see if you can find that. Obviously loved Normal People, and Michaela's show I May Destroy You is just,
oh my god,
so needed and beautifully done. So obviously check that out. What You Do in the Shadows, What We Do in the Shadows, I think is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And actually the second season just came out. So the performances of the three Brits, I guess, it's genius. So check that out if you like silly things.
Yeah.
Which I do. I've actually been watching quite a lot of the documentaries, like that are out in the moment. And then if you want to go back in time, if you can, it's called Hatu Film. It was Gideon Raff's original Israeli version of Homeland. Homeland came from that. It's only 2 seasons. It is incredible watching. So I worked with Gideon on The Spy. So Gideon Raff, that is fantastic. You'd probably be able to find that somewhere.
Cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, there you go. That's a really good list. I've seen most of that stuff, but that last one you've mentioned there, I haven't seen. So
it's quite old, but it's really something. Someone saying, "What about Doctor Who?" I'm not a Whovian. I appreciate it for what I can appreciate. It's great, but it's not for me. I'm actually watching it. What everyone's saying now. Oh God, I've watched lots of things.
We've got the time, let's be honest, and I'm enjoying that. Well, there you go. Thank you so much. That was, I really tried hard, because usually I do end up going off on tangents asking questions related to the last answer, but I tried to keep it so that we were just listening to you, because you gave so much amazing advice there. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, absolute pleasure. Are we done?
That's it. That's an hour. It absolutely flew by. But I just wanted to mention again. So Kelly's Twitter is at KV Hendry, Hendry, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
That's what Kelly is on Twitter. We are at Backstage on Twitter, and I am at Hannah Casting on Twitter. Please do tweet us and let us know if you've enjoyed today. If you've got any ideas of anything you'd like in the future, we're still running on these, so I'd love to hear and make sure that we're providing everything that you need. Thanks, Kelly.
My pleasure.
Really lovely to chat to you.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks. I hope everyone's well, and I look forward to possibly watching your self-tapes. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Okay, lovely.
Amazing.
Pleasure.
Thank
you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.